Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam, Prof.
Okay, I hope all of you are doing well and in good shape. Okay, so for this afternoon, we are going to look into the first topic on entrepreneurship in innovation. So we shall continue on the first topic on the cost of entrepreneurship in innovation. Basically, last week we have gone through the cost overview that explain the overall picture of the entrepreneurship in innovation cost. And for today, we are going to go into the first topic entitled Entrepreneurial Goals and Context. In this particular topic, there are 4 subtopics that we are going to touch upon. The first one is on invention, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And for those who have already taken innovation studies, most likely you have already gone through the definition of invention as well as innovation, right? And for today, you are going to look into the other context of innovation, which is the relationship with entrepreneurship. And then we will look into the research and development in small businesses, and later on you're going to go into social innovation, and finally we will discuss on the innovation, globalization and development context. So as usual, at the end of every topic, so for example, for this particular topic, you are going to be able to define what is invention, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And at the same time, you should also be able to explain the R&D in small businesses. Why is it important to do innovation in small businesses? And then describe what is social innovation. This is a new term that has already been developed for quite some time. And we will try to relate how social innovation will come into the picture. And then you also be able to relate innovation, globalization, as well as development. Let us look into the first subtopic, which is invention, innovation, and entrepreneurship. In this particular subtopic, we are going to look into what is actually innovation all about. As I said just now, I won't go into the definition of what is invention, what is innovation, and what is entrepreneurship, but I will explain to you the concept of innovation. So in this particular section, so we will look into the innovation, where what is innovation all about. And it is about 6 things. The first one, innovation is about identifying or creating opportunities. And then it is also new ways of serving existing markets. Innovation is also about growing new markets. And innovation is also about rethinking services, meeting social needs, and at the same time, improving operations. So we will gear our understanding on the relationship about what is innovation in terms of entrepreneurship. Okay, that's why you can see here that we are going to touch on markets, we are going to talk about businesses, we are going to talk about other things. It's not just about invention, right? Right, the first thing is about identifying or creating opportunities. So innovation, when I said just now in the first term is innovation is about identifying or creating opportunities. So what is it all about? So it is innovation is driven by the ability to see connections, to spot opportunities, and to take advantage of them. When we talk about market, right? And sometimes this is about completely new possibilities. For example, by exploiting radical breakthroughs in technology. And we are in the midst of pandemic COVID-19, and there are new drugs or new vaccine being introduced to to provide the solution to the global pandemic. So basically, this is about innovation. So companies such as Pfizer, companies such as AstraZeneca, Sinovac. There's a lot of other, maybe Sputnik 5 by Russian. So these giant companies, right? They are doing innovation. They are identifying or creating opportunities. But for example, like the new drug based on genetic manipulation have opened a major new front in the war against disease. So we can see many new innovation in terms of new medical approach, new vaccine, new drugs being introduced. Of course, we hope that the medical companies, they are not the one who introduce the disease. They introduce disease, and then they also introduces the solution to it, the cure to it, which is, I hope, not happening. And so at the same time, another example about in identifying or creating opportunities is on mobile phones, tablets, and other devices that are already being used. The computers, the tablets, iPads, and so on has already revolutionized the where and when we can communicate. All right. So the first elements of innovation is about identifying or creating opportunities. All right. That's the first element of innovation. The second aspect of innovation is about new ways of serving existing market. We know that the airline industry, right? They are being serving the worldwide mobility, especially on the air mobility. And innovation isn't about opening up new markets. It can also offer new ways of serving established and mature one, like the airline industry. So a few examples here, like AirAsia, EasyJet, Ryanair. These are, we call it as the low-cost airlines, which are still about transportation, but the innovation firms introduce what we call it as low-cost traveling, which have revolutionized air travel and grown in the market process. So just like an example of AirAsia, whenever you want to travel, it's up to you whether you want to add on services. Let's say, for example, you want to have an additional cargo, you have to pay. You want to have certain seats arrangement in the aircraft, you have to pay extra. If you want to have a meal, you have to pay. So nothing for free. Everything has charges. So this is a new way of serving new markets. The market is already there, air transportation market, but this low-cost airliner try to go into the existing market and try to find ways of getting more revenue, because there are passengers doesn't need to have onboard cargo. They do not need certain special seats. They do not need to have meals, for example. So, and it's all up to the passenger. If they need extra thing, they have to pay for it. Okay, so these are another aspect of innovation, which is new ways of serving existing market. The third item about innovation is growing new markets. For example, here, equally important is the ability to spot where and how new markets can be created and grown. So I put up two examples here. Sir Henry Ford may not have invented the motor car. Maybe he's not the first one to design or to come out with a vehicle, a car, but in making the Model T, which is the first, the car that being successfully being sold to the market, where it is called every man's car. It is at a price most people could afford. So he grew the mass market for personal transportation. So basically, this is a new market, growing new markets. At the same time, Sir Alexander Bell, invention of the telephone didn't lead to an overnight revolution in communications that depended on developing the market for person-to-person communication. So these are kind of innovation that grow into new markets. Then nobody goes into that market, then you can create new market, creating new needs to the society. The fourth item of innovation is about rethinking services. Okay, so in most economies, the services sector accounts for the vast majority of activity. So there is likely to be plenty of scope, and the lower capital cost often mean that the opportunities for new entrants and radical change are greatest in the service sector. So, for example, here new entrants riding the internet wave have rewritten the rule book for a wide range of industrial games. For example, Amazon in retailing, eBay in market trading and auctions, Google in advertising, as well as Skype in telephony. And you can see in the current year 2021, we have many other players that are going into the services that Amazon has explored earlier. For example, like Alibaba. We also have Lazada and so many other online retailing, right? And then like eBay in Malaysia, we have mudah.com, we have other platform. Google also have competitors. The Skype telephony, we have so many. The one that we are using now is WebEx. We also have Zoom and other platform. And this is about rethinking services. Okay, the newcomers, they are not doing innovation in rethinking services. They are already giving out different services. They are just improving the services. It's not about innovation anymore. Okay, the earlier player are doing the innovation. The later are not. Right? Online banking and insurance also have become commonplace, but they have radically transformed the efficiencies with which those sector work and the range of services they can provide. So from time to time now, we can see not just banking, online banking. So you can now pay with your Touch and Go, you can pay with QR code, you can pay with other platform to pay your fuel, to pay your food, to pay your other things, not just through online banking. Okay, so that is about giving innovation on rethinking services. You have the current services, but you come up with another method of providing services. So this is the number 4 about innovation. The next one is on meeting social needs, right? Innovation is about meeting social needs, where innovation offers huge challenges and opportunities for the public sector, and pressure to deliver more and better services without increasing the tax burden is a puzzle, likely to keep many civil servants awake at night. But it's not an impossible dream. Right across the spectrum, there are examples of innovation changing the way the sector works. And in this particular example, we show healthcare. Yes, healthcare is a huge social needs for the public. Okay, so in healthcare, there have been major improvements in efficiencies around key targets such as waiting time. So many more, especially the private hospital, they try to improve the waiting times compared to the government hospital. Of course, government hospital also try their very best to improve their waiting time. And hospitals like in the UK, Leicester Royal Infirmary or the Karolinska Hospital in Stockholm, Sweden have managed to make radical improvement in the speed, quality, as well as effectiveness of their care services, such as cutting waiting lists for elective surgery by 75%. This is huge. And cancellation by 80% through innovation. So they come up with apps, probably they come up with a monitoring of patients. They come up with alert notification to patients so that they don't have to wait at the hospital lounge. They can be anywhere. They can have a more appropriate appointment system. So that improve a lot in terms of healthcare services. So that is another aspect of innovation, which is about meeting social needs. And the last one is on improving operations. The philosophy of doing what we do, but better. So basically, you want to improve how you do things. At the other end of the scale, for example, this I take Kumba Resources. It is a mining company. It is a large South African mining company, which makes another dramatic claim. They claim that we move mountains. So in Kumba's company case, the mountains contain iron ore. And the company's huge operations require large-scale excavation and restitution of the landscape afterwards. Much of its business involves complex large-scale machinery, and its ability to keep it running and productive depends on a workforce able to contribute innovative ideas on a continuing basis. So this is a good example of what the company is doing. Basically, they are doing mining, but they do it better, right? They try to improve their operation by having a lot of innovations, right? So those are aspects of innovation that we can share here so that you can have a clear mind on innovation. It's not just having invention and innovation and businesses, commercialization. So innovation in the aspect of entrepreneurship. That's what we want to relate it here. Now, let us go into the second subtopic, which is the relationship between innovation and entrepreneurship. Before this, we look into what is innovation aspect. Innovation is about the 6 element, and now we want to see the relationship between innovation and entrepreneurship. So innovation matters, but it does not happen automatically. So every company, every institution, research institution, they want to have innovation, right? What is more important here is that the innovation itself is driven by entrepreneurship. So it's a potent mixture of vision, passion, energy, enthusiasm, insight, judgment, and plain hard work, which enables good ideas to become reality, right? When you have an invention, you want to move the invention to become innovation, and the innovation itself is being driven by entrepreneurship. That's why the 6 element of innovation, when we try to explain innovation, it all relates to the entrepreneurship. How to get into the market, what the different strategies into the market, and so on and so forth, right? So the power behind changing products, processes, and services comes from the individuals, the inventor, the managers, the engineers, the owner of the company, whether acting alone or embedded within organizations, and who will make innovations happen, right? So we will see that in terms of the relationship of innovation and entrepreneurship. A famous management writer, Peter Drucker, he wrote a book on innovation and entrepreneurship. There's a quote that coming from his book: innovation is the specific tool of entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs will use innovation as a tool, and that means by which they exploit change as an opportunity for a different business or service, meaning that you are not doing the same thing again and again. That is not innovation, meaning that you have to improve the existing process, or you have to find ways to achieve a better result. So it is about capable of being presented as a discipline, capable of being learned, and capable of being practiced. That is about innovation, which is a tool of entrepreneurs. So the Peter Drucker, okay, you may Google Peter Drucker and you can find his book on innovation and entrepreneurship. So basically he said that innovation can be as a discipline, it also can be learned. That's why we are doing it now. So I'm sharing information about how to learn innovation and entrepreneurship, and it also can be practiced. Hopefully by throughout this particular course, you should be able to practice innovation and entrepreneurship. And the elements of innovation and entrepreneurship, there are 4 main points here where entrepreneurship plays out on different stages in practice. So it depends on whether the product, the idea in terms of the ideation, when you harness or you nurture the idea to become a innovative product before you bring it up into different stages. So entrepreneurship will plays out at different stages. One obvious example is the startup venture, okay, in which the lone entrepreneur takes a calculated risk to bring something new into the world. Imagine you have an idea, you develop the idea, you research upon it, and you prepare the idea to be materialized. Okay, you prepare a prototype, the lab prototype, real life prototype, go into the market trial, and being commercialized at the end of the day, right? So the entrepreneurship will place at different stages. It plays a different role at a different stages. But entrepreneurship matters just as much to established organization which needs to renew itself in what it offers and how it creates and delivers that offering. So internal entrepreneurs, okay, that often labeled as intrapreneurs or working in a corporate entrepreneurship or corporate venture department, like an R&D kind of unit in the department that also engage with the marketing department, provide the drive, the energy and vision to take risky new ideas forward within that context. It's not just the researcher, it's not just about the managers, so it's and the marketing department is all encompassed as a team, right, to ensure the ideas can be brought or can be bring into the market. All right, and of course, when we talk about innovation and entrepreneurship, the passion to change things may not be focused on creating commercial value, but rather on improving conditions or enabling change in the wider social sphere or in the direction of the environmental sustainability, a field which has become known as social entrepreneurship. So we will talk more on social entrepreneurship or in terms of the social innovation later on. Let us look into the different stages of life cycle of an organization, right? So you can see this table about having a startup, and then the company growth, okay, for maybe 1 or 3 years or maybe more, and a sustainable or scale up company, right, when they have already matured, okay, having 3 to 5 years or more, and a renew, meaning that sometimes the life cycle of an organization, you come up with a new product, you then go back to the process, right? And here in the stage of in life cycle of an organization, we have a item on creating commercial value. If we go through the different life cycle of an organization, for startup, basically individual entrepreneur will exploiting new technology or market opportunity. Imagine that you are going to do this later on in the course, where you are going to form your company, right? And we will talk more on the group activity later on, okay? And when you grow 1 to 3 years, growing the business through adding new product or services or moving into new markets, and when you move into the next stage, which is sustaining and scaling up, building a portfolio of incremental and radical innovation to sustain the business, because you cannot just sell the same thing again and again for throughout years. Of course, there are other competitors coming in, so you have to come up with new ideas that can hopefully influence into new markets. At this stage, is quite crucial to sustain the business and renew, basically returning to the radical frame, breaking kind of innovation which began the business and enables it to move forward as something very different, right? So this is the stages in life cycle of an organization, creating commercial value, right? And at the same time, creating social value aspect for startup, social entrepreneur, passionately concerned to improve or change something in their immediate environment, right? And then in terms of the growth, developing the ideas and engaging others in network for change, perhaps in the region of or around a key issue. And then when you want to sustain the social value, basically spreading the idea widely, diffusing it to other communities of social entrepreneurs, engaging links with mainstream players like public sectors agencies, and then renew, basically changing the system and then acting as agent for the next wave of change. So you can see here the two aspects of commercial value and social value in the life cycle of the organization. It is quite important so that you are not just focusing on the commercial aspect of it, because creating a social value is also as important as creating commercial value. If not, your brand will disappear in couple of years time. Let us move into the next subtopic, which is research development in small businesses, right? What is it all about? So when we talk about research development in small businesses, meaning that in no matter how small your company, let's say you have a startup, you have a enterprises maybe, or you have a private limited company, sendirian berhad, or you move up into a group, like you have like a group of companies, you have a holding company, right? Where a holding company normally has smaller subsidiaries. They have many private limited or sendirian berhad under a huge group company, right? And what we can see here is that innovation does not happen simply because we hope it will. For example, like a company, when they have a vision and mission saying that we are innovation driven company, so it's just a vision, but if you don't put effort on it, you don't put manpower, you don't spend money, you don't provide assistance to the R&D, meaning that it will not happen. Okay, it's just a nice tagline or a vision. It's a complex process. Innovation is a complex process which carries risk. Doesn't mean that you have an R&D department in your company, your company will be innovative, right? It doesn't mean like that. It's not as simple as that. It is quite complex, right? And it also carries risk and need careful as well as systematic management. And innovation isn't a single event. It's not just one-off. So you decide a strategic plan, suddenly you decided that we are going to have an innovation department, and you provide a new improvement of your product, and then that's it. You said that would be your innovation for the century. Okay, so it's not like that. It's not just a single event. It is a continuous event, right? So like the light bulb going off, where above a cartoon character's head. It's not just a single event. It's a continuous. So innovation it must continue. So it doesn't come today, probably come later in the afternoon, maybe come later tomorrow, or maybe it will come late at a later stage. So innovation or R&D in small businesses is all about an extended process of picking up ideas for change and turning them through into effective reality. Right? So some ideas may come from the CEO himself, some ideas probably come from the engineer, some ideas probably come from the janitor of the people who work in the shop floor, right? So you have to provide platform for the ideas to grow in a company. And research development in small businesses, we can look into 4 core processes. And the core processes involve 4 steps. Of course, the first one, recognizing opportunities, right? And then finding resources, developing the venture, and capturing value. So in other words, the company itself, the organization must recognize opportunities. Probably there are mishaps happen, or there are things that not happen, not following the plan, right? For example, it's beyond the company's control. It's for example, like what happened now, the pandemic, right? So is it that you are just do business as usual, or you have to find ways on how to convert, or how to transform the threats, the challenges into opportunities? That is an innovation. Finding resources. Once you have already recognize the opportunities, you may provide prioritization, which opportunities can be realized earlier. Maybe the rest can be put up in shelf, maybe it will be considered later on. And you put resources where you put your talent, you put some money involved, and provide assistance for the ideas to grow. And developing the venture, realize it, and of course capturing value. Of course you want something in return, so at least whatever you have venture in terms of the innovation process at your company will provide return of investment. Okay, so the challenge comes in doing this in an organized fashion. So that's a tricky aspect about it, because some of the time it is not goes into an appropriate manner. So because innovation is not just you have a proper meeting, everybody comes in, you come up with some ideas and it will work. So it's not like that, but you can try the steps that being highlighted here, so that it can be implemented in an orderly manner, and is being able to repeat. Basically, you can try to repeat again and again, so that it can become a being realized, right? This core process doesn't take place in vacuum, meaning that it's not just in silo. So we also know that it is strongly influenced by many factors to make it success. In particular, innovation needs 3 things. The first one, clear strategic leadership and direction. It's no point the engineering department or R&D department put up a lot of effort. Suddenly the owner or the managing director does not support it. The commitment of resources to make this happen. That is the first ingredients, right, that can make innovation happen. An innovative organization in which the structure and climate enables people to deploy their creativity and share their knowledge to bring about change. And the same time, proactive links across boundaries or across the departments inside the organization and to the many external agencies who can play a part in the innovation process. Because sometimes you cannot realize the ideas to become an innovation or innovative ideas to go into commercialization without talking to the suppliers, talking to the customer, having sufficient sources of finance. You need skill resources and of course knowledge to realize it, right? So those are the ingredients to make innovation a success in a small businesses. Of course, the same thing goes to the big businesses. Let us move into the third part of the topic. Today is on social innovation. So maybe some of you have heard about social innovation. Maybe some of you, this is the first time heard about social innovation, right? What is it? Social innovation, basically, it provides a unique opportunity to step back from narrow way of thinking about social enterprises, business engagement, and philanthropy, and to recognize instead the interconnectedness of various factors as well as the stakeholders, right? And when we want to define social innovation, right, it is the process of developing and deploying effective solutions to challenging and often systemic social and environmental issues. Right? It's not about creating a lot of money. It's about solving problems of social as well as environmental issue, because we talk about social innovation in support of social progress. So social innovation is not the prerogative of or privilege of any organization or legal structure, and solutions often require the active collaboration of constituents across government, business, and the non-profit world. So there is on about social innovation and how social innovation differs from social entrepreneurship, right? Although social entrepreneurship has become a popular rallying point for those trying to improve the world, social change can happen outside of them. As a matter of fact, solutions have historically come from the non-profit, private, and government sectors. So the concept of social innovation focuses attention on the ideas and solutions that create social value. What is social value? It benefits the public at large. So as well as the processes through which they are generated, regardless of where they are coming from. So these are just an example of social innovation that being conducted. Okay. For example, the first one is fair trade, an organized movement that establishes high trade standards for coffee, chocolate, sugar, and other products by certifying traders that pay producers a living wage and meet other social and environmental standards. The fair trade movement improves farmers' life and promotes environmental sustainability. So it's not just about getting quality product, good product coming out from it, but the having thought as well as action on the well-being of the farmers, because the farmers themselves probably they are getting maybe $1 or 1 ringgit out of the 100 ringgit price of the product. Okay, so you imagine at the store, at the supermarket, the product can be sold as 100 ringgit, but the farmers only get 1 ringgit out of it. So basically, the social innovation on fair trade try to balance it out. So it can be like a fair trade movement. Oops, it goes up. Right. Another one is about charter schools, publicly funded primary or secondary schools that operate free from some of the regulations that typically apply to public schools, and administrators, teachers, and parents does have opportunity to develop innovative teaching. It's not about getting revenue from it. It's not about charging a lot of money. It's about providing quality education for free, right? Probably in Malaysia we have many foundation, yayasan, wakaf, and then that provide a lot of what we call it as funding to the a program called charter school. And then we go into the third example here, the emissions trading, a pollution control program that uses economic incentives to reduce emissions. A cap is set on the total amount of certain pollutant that can be emitted and permits to pollute and issued to all participating businesses. Those with higher emissions can buy credits from businesses that have reduced their emission. Over time, the cap is reduced. So the same thing has been implemented in the airline industry. Okay, the International Civil Aviation Authority that provide a cap or emissions, they call it emission credits. So certain airlines, when they go into certain areas in Europe, for example, they have to have a certain levels of maximum emissions coming out from their aircraft, from the engine itself, right? So they have to ensure not just the aircraft is running on not just jet fuel. They have to have, for example, adding up biofuel mixture to their fuel so that they can have less emissions. And the more they have the emission, the more tax they have to pay, right? So these are just an example of social innovation that has already been implemented throughout the world. Okay, and social innovation drivers, when we talk about the driver for innovation, social innovation, so we observe how cross-sector fertilization underlies the three key mechanisms that are driving contemporary social innovation. The first one is about exchange of ideas and values. Second one in shift in roles and relationship, right? And integration of private capital with public and philanthropic support. So ultimately, the most difficult and important problems cannot be understood, let alone solved without involving the non-profit, public, as well as the private sectors. Right. The last part of the topic today is on innovation, globalization and development, right? And I would like to revisit back the definition of innovation, okay? And it is about production or adoption, assimilation and exploitation of a value-added novelty in economic and social spheres, renewal and enlargement of products, services and markets, developments of new methods of production and establishment of new management system. It is both a process as well as an outcome. So you can really compare with the earlier definition of the 6 elements of innovation just now with the definition provided by Crossan and Apadin 2010. And if we look into the innovation itself, innovation is not an invention, right? An inventor will invent product, become an invention. But an invention itself, it may not become an innovation. There are elements of it. Let us see it through. Okay? The invention itself is basically to create something new. The creation of something new become an invention, and it is a result in new knowledge. Whereas innovation itself is the transformation of idea or resource info into useful application and is a result in a new product, new services or new processes. So I hope you can really see the differentiation between innovation and invention itself. If you have gone through innovation studies, there's another element of it that innovation itself is not an innovation unless it involves monetary exchange. Okay, so that's another aspect of innovation. In terms of the innovation spectrum, so you can see here we plot resources against the level of development, right? Where level of development, basically we have discovery level, we have technology demonstration level, development stages, and commercialization. So if you convert this into the what we call it as the technology readiness level or TRL, okay, discovery level is basically TRL number 1, 2, and 3. Technology demonstration, TRL level 4, 5, and 6. Until development and commercialization, basically TRL level 7, 8, and 9. So you may want to try to look into what are the TRL definition, and you can see that the progress of the TRL, technology readiness level, is closely related to the level of development of the product. And if we can see here, there are two lines here. The first one is this line, okay, where the inventing, where you start to invent things, right? And the way you look at it, you will use less resources in terms of the number of people. You use less money involved, right, in the discovery stage, and it goes into the small businesses. The value, the resources, the talent, and the money involved is growing, and of course the role of the when it goes to development and it goes to the commercialization, the resources are going high. If we try to read here, right, where the involvement of the academia at the university professors, researchers, they are involved heavily in the discovery. And then for technology demonstration, we pass it to the small businesses, and then for development, the investors will take its role, and the industry will play its role in the commercialization stage. So you can see there's the innovation spectrum, from ideas that is being discovered in the lab that we grow into the innovative product being commercialized in the market. So it requires resources. It also requires involvement of many parties. As an motivators for innovation, we can look into three elements here, where innovation leads to wealth creation. It has the element of catalyst for regional development, right? It's not just having a company or an entity that is successful in one of the region, but the surrounding environment, the surrounding area will also be developed. Okay, that's why we call it as a catalyst for regional development. It is also basis for comparative advantage of nations. You want to compare certain countries, right? For example, you want to compare Malaysia against South Korea, or Malaysia against Mauritius, or Malaysia against Nigeria. All right. So innovation can be a tool. Right? Innovative index can be a tool to compare nations, and it's also being used as a creativity and human nature. Right? It leads to wealth creation. And the key value for longevity of business, innovation is also a source of transformative qualitative change, and it's a source of organic growth for firms. Any company that do not do innovation, it will die naturally, right? Whether it's within 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, if you do not innovate, your company will disappear, right? And innovation is also a solution to complex problems. If we look at the Global Innovation Index in 2020, this is a report by the World Innovation or what is it called? WIPO. I can't remember the name of the organization. Oops. So it put up a global innovation index where Malaysia ranks number 8 in Asia and number 33 in the world. So how many countries we have in the world? So Malaysia is already at the rank number 33. And what makes Malaysia to be at the top 10 in Asia, right? So is it about having the right vision and mission for the countries, the right support in terms of the budgetary, okay? We have also the talents, the research institution, the universities. We have also the private companies that doing research, okay? And of course, the businesses that support the innovation index. Let us look into a more detailed framework of the global innovation index. They not just look at the IP, number of IP being produced. They look at whether the country has in terms of the institutions, where it has political environment, regulatory environment, business environment, right? So that supports the innovation. And human capital, where they have education, the university, tertiary education, and R&D activities. Infrastructure, the third one, information and communication technologies, the ICTs, general infrastructures, ecological sustainability, and then they look into the fourth element, which is the market sophistication, the credit, the investment, the trade competition, and the market size. And the fifth element is the business sophistication, the knowledge workers, innovation linkages, knowledge absorption. That is the innovation input sub-index. At the same time, under the Global Innovation Index framework, they also have innovation output sub-index, where the knowledge and technology outputs, how many knowledge creation, how many knowledge impact, how many knowledge diffusion that coming out from the innovation input. And the elements of creative outputs, where intangible assets being produced, creative goods and services, and online creativity appear in the country. So it's not simple, it is quite complicated, and the Global Innovation Index is quite independent, and it shows the seriousness, the certain country that put up effort in terms of having the nation towards innovation. That's why in Malaysia we have the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. We have Innovation Center, like Aerospace Malaysia Innovation Center. We also have Malaysian Global Innovation Center, MAGIC. We have Yayasan Inovasi Malaysia. We have Agency Innovation Malaysia, and so many innovation elements or efforts being put up. And you can see from year to year, now 2020 Malaysia is ranked number 33. Previous years we are ranked number 34. I think 2018 we are ranked number 36. Basically, Malaysia are in a good track record to become a better innovation nation. All right. So with that, as a summary, we have already looked into the aspect of the invention, innovation, and entrepreneurship. At the same time, we looked into the R&D in small businesses, and we introduced social innovation, and finally look at the innovation, globalization, and development aspect. So that's all for our lecture for today.